Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the country or in the world, whether you're watching this live or on repeat. It's much better live. And we've got people from Transylvania, which is a very exotic country, and Kalamazoo, which I love the name. It sounds like it should be one of those, things that you used to make with a comb and tracing paper when we were kids. I don't know. Kalamazoo, but yes, Kalamazoo. I weren't they a stationary thing in Kalamazoo as well? Everybody is here. The whole gang is assembled just as well, and I'm pleased to see that Maxi Donkey is in the chat as well. Because Maxi Donkey, you're going to love today's session. Maxi Donkey does a lot of AI stuff. Is one of these people I get on very well with. He's emailed me tons and tons of time. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Oh, very good, excellent. We do in these webinars. We represent practically every country in the world. I think we've had Sudan before, not South Sudan. I think it was Sudan. So when I someone says I'm far from exotic, Northern Kentucky. You know what? To a Brit, Northern Kentucky is exotic. So I'm a Texan technically myself. Trinidad, Colin Maharaj. Hello, Colin. And Clarkston, Missouri, not quite as exotic as Kentucky. And Albertisa, Hungary. Oh, wow, fantastic. Love Hungary. Very interesting country, Hungary. It's got all sorts going on for it. It's very beautiful. And Corsica, well, who wouldn't love Corsica? It's fantastic. I'm not going to call everybody out. I think I've popped up most people that said hi. We could be here forever. We have like 270 countries we go out to, and people watching represent probably at least a tenth of that, 26 countries, maybe something like that. And someone's sending me an image. Okay, yeah, I see what that is. Just one of my colleagues. Germany and the Netherlands, and Melvin says, well, I'm here from Texas, US, which wants to be its own country. Hey, dude, I live in Frisco, and technically Dallas suburb as well. So I actually have a true Texan sign. You know, the ones that when you register your driving license in Texas, once you've registered your driving license, they give you a sticker. It's of an armadillo, I think, or sometimes a gun. I think that's a different one. But anyway, an armadillo that says True Texan. So technically, I'm a True Texan. I've been here 11 years in Texas, and maybe 12 years nearly now, and 5 years in Nebraska before that as well. Everybody's saying hi there. Canada, Algeria, Slovakia. Well, you know what? Isn't it funny how many people say, oh, nobody ever uses Delphi? Not true. We've proved comprehensively that actually millions, over 2.5 million people use Delphi around the world. Some of them paid, some are using the CE version. Whatever whatever floats your boat, so to speak. If you are if you're able to, you can if you qualify, then you can go to Embarcadero.com and go onto products, and you can get a free version of Delphi or free version of C++ Builder. You do have to have some conditions applied. So, if you earn over $10,000 and things like that, then we expect you to buy a license. It can be the Pro, which is the same as the CE version. CE version is one version behind the retail version. That is just how it works out. Bet no one is from Chicago. I think you're probably wrong. Who else we got? Brazil. Hola in Brazil. Bonjour. And all the other things I could say. Alicante. Dzień dobry to my friends in Poland. All right, Peter, a friend of mine, ex-colleague. We went through 7-7 together and a few other things as well. We had an exciting time working in London together. It wasn't that exciting actually, but a lot of things happened in the world during that period. But Peter, yes, Peter Turtle, an MVP as well. Very, very good developer, excellent developer. He was excellent developer 20 years ago. He's even better now. And good morning, day, evening, night, everyone. Hi from Poland. Klaus as well. Oh, it's going on and on. There you go. See, someone says they're from Chicago, Illinois. Alexander Liberov, I know who you are, and Tony in Portland. Wow, it's just insane, isn't it? And Poland as well. Yeah, quite a few Polish people here. I'm not sure what that says. I'm going to assume it's nothing particularly rude, but we'll find out when when I get sued or thrown off of YouTube or something like that. Eduardo in Japan, really? Eduardo Pereira de Aracchio. What an unusually Spanish/Portuguese sounding name for someone who is living in Japan. So there you go. And Serge, of course, Roux with the absolutely classic French name as well. By the way, I don't know whether you can see the symbols that are coming up as well. The reason I picked these out, just so you realize that we go out to 11 different channels. So we go out to YouTube and YouTube, LinkedIn, Meta Live, which is Facebook and Instagram. We go to more than one YouTube channel, I think, as well. But anyway, it's 11 different places all at once. So you're there. And hola desde Cuba. So hello from Cuba as well. Fantastic. And hello from Sao Paulo. And some exotic place called Los Angeles. Hello, boy. And how you doing, my friend? Very, very good. Go to Mitoff. Software.com is a great guy, and I'm going to have to mute my colleagues because my naughty colleagues keep pinging me, and some of these can get through my do not disturb. So the next time they ping me, I will shut them up. Okay, so I've got a lot to get through today. Today I have 0 slides, 0. And there's a reason for that, because I'm actually going to do some demos of code because I want to prove a point. Sorry, I just reminded, before my alert goes off, I have to take my medicine tablet. It's nothing illegal. It is actually prescribed. I forgot to do it before I went live. And if I don't do it, then weird things happen to my legs. So there you go. Legion Belgium as well. So today, as I said, I don't really want to show any slides. In fact, I haven't got any prepared deliberately. And the reason that, he's a Brazilian resident in Japan. There you go. The reason I haven't prepared the slides is I really want to show you some code and show you what can be done in Delphi. That all 3 of the projects I'm going to show you are Delphi projects. But I wanted to make sure that someone says the medicine stops me from turning into the Hulk. Yeah, it's not working. No, actually, it's a long story. I used to do full contact martial arts many years ago, and I got injured over the years. And as I've got older, things have come back to haunt me. Yes, in fact, that is where was it? Just to admit, you broke your overhead projector. Yeah, actually, Edwin, you're right. It is actually gabapentin. Yeah, it's to stop. It actually is an anticonvulsant medicine, but actually it's to stop nerve pain, and it's very, very effective. I can't keep taking, paracetamol and things like that because it ruins your liver, and I quite like the liver I've got. I need it working. But yes, live long and prosper to Delphi, but need IA, that's AI, so he's Brazilian, of course, with it. Yes, interesting enough. And Chicken Rapids freely translated. I don't know what that is. And Squamish, British Columbia. Interesting. So let's talk about a few things. First of all, let me pull up my graphics to explain, because next week we have a slightly out of sequence webinar. So today is an AI LLM, so open source and completely written in Delphi. And actually, I deliberately said LLM, but that's not quite true. And I'll explain why. Because an LLM is the actual model, the thing that you load with all the rules in it, all the tokens, tokenizations, and all the kind of brain power. But actually, it's an inference engine is the thing that drives it. I'm going to show you some two commercial ones, or actually two free ones that are public, and then I'm going to show you some in Delphi as well. So if you know what Olama is, if you know what LM Studio is, you can create your own version of that in Delphi. I'm going to show that today. It's a very interesting session. And then next week we're not going to do a Tuesday webinar. We are going to do a Thursday webinar. So next Thursday, and it's actually 2 hours earlier than normal. And the reason is that we are going to show a new thing that we think is going to fascinate a few people and you know, interest people. Now, if you want to, if you can't be bothered to type in the tiny URL, if you instead scan that QR code, which is in the top left-hand corner of the screen, it'll take you directly to there and you can register. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, and just come along and have a look. And I think you'll be pleased. We think it's a big deal, and there's going to be a few of us there to talk about it, including myself, obviously. And let me go back to my graphics and turn that off. So that's next week. Today is an AI LLM. So next week's thing, as I said before, is a new RAD Studio workflow is coming. You're going to get an email about this if you're on our email club. Some people block emails from us, which is fine. But if you've previously said you don't want any emails, then we can't email you at all, even about the cool stuff like this, which is why it's important to, if you are on YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever, subscribe. And then what you will get is will receive the notification when we go live, which is what you want. I've just muted that person, it keeps pinging me. There you go. But register for that. There's going to be 3 people involved because it's got a lot of explaining to do, and that is next Thursday, 10 a.m. US Central, 3 p.m. Universal Time, UTC, or 4 p.m. British Summertime. Okay, and make a note, it's 2 hours earlier than normal, and it's on a Thursday. And it's not going to be just me. Marco Cantu is going to be there to talk about what we've got to show, and also our GM, Ben Schwenk. I used to call him our new GM, but actually he's been around for a good few months now. I think, I'm not sure if he's coming up to his year anniversary yet, but Ben, really good guy. Very, very happy with Ben. We get on very well with him. A great boss. He's technically my boss and Marco's boss, I suppose. I don't know. We've got a very weird management structure, but he's the head honcho, put it that way, a GM. So Marco, as you know, senior PM as well. So me, Marco, and Ben come along and you know, scan that and find out more. We're not going to tell you what it's about. We think the element of surprise is worth looking at, but I believe that this is something substantial. I think it's if you normally don't bother with our webinars, don't worry. You know, the replays will be available. We'll push them down to the IDE, so the welcome page and things like that. But it's worth your time, I think, trying to do this. If that's too early for you, if you're still at work and you normally watch this after work or something like that, or you do something else on a Thursday, that's fine. Don't worry, you'll be able to catch it on the replay, and it'll be on the YouTube channel as well. But if you are watching us on YouTube, click on that subscribe button. I don't care about the likes. It is helpful. If you do click like, it does help us because it makes YouTube understand that actually people like what we're doing. I guess that's why the button's called the like button. But more importantly, if you click on that subscribe button, then when I do weird things like we do this different day for the webinar, you know, we normally do Tuesdays, you'll get notified of it. We won't know who you are. We won't be able to spam you. It's the safest way possible of finding out more. But go ahead and see that. So that is next Thursday. Like I say, there won't be a Tuesday webinar. We've got other things going on. So, what are we talking about today? Well, we mentioned before about the um, AI LLM. Just before I do that, what I'm going to do is share my screen, and then I've got a number of different web pages to show you. Let me just share my screen, and I'm going to get myself to go down here. Like, no, that's not what I wanted. This one. No, that's not it. Oh, here it is. That's the one I want. All right. So let me just. I think I can do this. Yes. So one of the things is if you're in Portugal or if you're in Brazil, uh, then you can go along and get involved in the second Delphi Connect. It's completely free, no charges at all. But if you speak Portuguese or understand Portuguese, or you just want to see code, I mean, code is a universal language, really. Then you can go to this and have a look at the sessions and see what's going on. Um, Great stuff. But oh, and Edwin says he has a similar issue. That's why I understand what the tablets were I was taking. Yes, I wouldn't normally take tablets on air, but I have to take it. I forgot it. So that's 21st of May. So that is not tomorrow, Thursday, this week. And actually, I will be there virtually. They've got a lineup. I'm not sure where their lineup is. If I click on this. Yeah, okay, maybe they don't, but they've got there's the presenters. There's a whole list of them, including myself. So definitely worth coming along to and having a go. It's going to be a number of different topics and interesting stuff, I think, but not a lot of use. My session will be in English. They'll be translating it later, but I can't speak Portuguese. But if you do speak Portuguese, if you're Brazilian or you live in Portugal, then go along. There'll be a bunch of people there. There are some sessions from, I think, people like Antonio as well. So there will be other things as well. So what are we talking about today? Well, if you're interested in AI, or if you're in Brazil or Spain, then it's IA. I get it. Then you are probably used to what's known as an inference engine. Now, a lot of people won't call it an inference engine. They call it an AI, or they call it an LLM, a large language model, because that's what they think it is. But actually, the model is referring to the kind of back end database almost. The inference engine is the thing that you normally interact with. Okay. And I can show you what I mean by that. If I just go into here, um, and if I let me see if I can do this. Uh, Whoops. Oh, so this is my Mac. Okay, and I'm just gonna find that for a second. No, oh, I close this. Go away. Oh yes, I remember. Stupid interface. So this is my Mac. And when we're talking about an inference engine, we're talking about this kind of thing. Okay, so this is Olama, and I'm going to make that QR code go on the other side of the screen because it's in the way there. There you go, over here. And this is Olama. If you've never seen it before, you can do things like this. So you can say, who was the first king of England? And it'll go away, and it's a chatbot kind of thing, and it'll have a think about it. Did I load the model? Oh, it's loading the model now. Yeah, probably turn the model off. That wasn't a very clever thing to do. Ah, hello. Yeah, okay. Well, I think I might have turned the model off actually on this one, so we won't bother with that for now. Let's just stay to it. Yeah, do you know what? Don't worry. Let's not do that. Um, But there are other ones, like, for example, this one. This is LM Studio. And I can say the same thing. So I'll say pick the model. Let's choose this one. And I can say who was the first king, oops, of England. and it'll go away and I'll have a think about it. And it's got a chat window that's telling me all sorts of stuff about what's happening. Oh, yes, I will work and I will work out this. And the thinking part of it is really just, if I expand it down, you can see what it's thinking about. So it's saying, oh, I thought for 15 seconds. That's because I'm doing like 50,000 things at once on this machine. And it'll say, well, okay, if he's asking about who is the first king of England, then I need to work out what he means by that. So it's inferring from what I've said that I'm probably talking about an ancient king of England, and that ancient king in England, would it be from 1066 when England was invaded and the first unified Britain was made, where the kingdoms of Mercia and Anglia and Northumbria were joined together, because England once upon a time was separate countries, or separate kingdoms, shall we say. And it'll go through and it'll actually work out and say, actually, initially, England wasn't a single kingdom. So there were different kings for King Anglia, Mercia, and Northumbria. So therefore, if Ian is asking about the king of England, then he's probably referring to the first king that unified all those kingdoms. Correct. And it'll go through and it'll work it all out. It finds out the research, and then this is the answer, which is it depends on what you mean by king of England. Perfect answer, perfect. And if you're what you really mean is that the very first king that unified all those kingdoms is King Athelstan, and that's how that's pronounced, Athelstan or Athelstan. And he reigned from 924 to 939 AD. And actually, the great thing about England is its history, and you can go ahead and you can go and see where Athelstan was the king. He's saying for someone who lost his slides, he's shown quite a few slides. Actually, that's not a slide. That is a website, Plutonian. He said this, or she said this. He's shown quite a few slides. No, I'm not. There's no slides at all. This is a website. In fact, if I do this, oh, actually, this is a this is LM Studio itself. Anyway, so I'm hearing Remy is the new AI kid on the block. Yeah, really. Yeah, well, I don't think that's the case. Anyway, Kylix, etc., etc. Yes, I see all the different comments from people. Most of them don't really make much sense. So anyway, so the inference engine is what it does. What it does is it loads this LLM, this large language model, and in this case, it is Quen 3.6. Now, the 35B, which you can see at the bottom there, means 35 billion parameters. Oh my word. So 35 billion different rules or connections between different facts and figures. And so when I say, tell me about the first king of England, it looks through all those facts and figures. And then from that, it infers what I meant, as you see from the thought there, and then it comes up with the answer. Let me just tell this person go away. Person not to bother me for a second. There you go. So it infers from my question and it looks into the facts and it looks through those 35 billion parameters, and that is how it gets the answer. Now, that answer is roughly correct. Many people consider Edward the Confessor to probably be the first king of England, but based on what he's got there, it's right. Okay. Now, if I was running uh, Olama correctly, and I haven't got it set up properly. I've turned it off. I think I was doing some other things on it. Then Olama would basically come up with the same questions and same answers, and that's how it works. So it's pretty clever stuff, and that is running on my Mac. My Mac is a pretty good Mac. It's a MacBook Pro M5 Pro, and it's got a lot of disk space and a lot of RAM, so it's pretty clever, pretty powerful. But that's how that works. So let's just disconnect from that for a second. Wherever my mouse has gone, where's my mouse? Here it is. So disconnect from there. We don't need to be on there. So that's what an inference engine is. Now, why am I telling you about this? Well, the reason is that there's a lot of people who misunderstand the difference between an inference engine and an AI large language model, which is why we advertise today and talking about LLMs. So Olama was one of the two that I showed you. And the reason that it's useful is instead of, you're probably familiar with going to the cloud-based AI models. So if you go to Claude on the web, you can go and uh, use one of the cloud models there. Same with Google Gemini, same with Copilot and all the others. You can use all of those remotely by the web page. But Olama does everything locally on your machine. Okay. Now there is a cloud package. You can pay for it and say, okay, well, I would like to download it and then have a subscription. And that will then allow you to also, with Olama, have a hybrid model. So you do some of it locally and some of it on the cloud. The same with Claude, the same with all the others as well, except Olama is all completely local. Okay. Now, if you are playing around with your code, then you can end up with potentially sending your code off to a different country, and send it off out of your control, and then worry that it's going to you know sample your data. Notice as well, by the way, talking about open claw, it's getting very crowded, this market. Okay, so that's Olama. You can download it and do all sorts of things with it. It will work with Claude Code, for example. If you're not sure what Claude Code looks like, just go to Claude and have a look yourself, or click on here. Um, Open Claw, Hermes Agent. I mean, you name it, it's not there. We are going to appear in the ID as well, because you can use Olama for smart code insight as well, and looking into other things to do with AI, and we're going to discuss those probably during the webinar as well coming up. The kind of ideas that we've got and what we think is the right direction, wrong direction. I see someone asking in the questions, are the inference models capable of using local tools and functions? Actually, the inference tool is if you can think of how Claude works, where it can use local tools, yes, some of them can. Some models can use tools, some models can't. And I'm going to show you that in a moment as well and talk about that. But Olama, yes, all local, all on your machine. Now, LM Studio again is exactly the same. The advantage is if you go to LM Studio, you can set this up so it'll work across your network as well. But LM Studio, you download it. It's just one of these multi-target apps. Get LM Studio, and then you can open whatever modules you like and have them run local. The models have to be ones that are obviously set for local use. You can connect to cloud instances, but what's the point if you're trying to run it all locally? Then you will need a fairly beefy machine. You can't just go ahead and get away with it just doing what it wants. But you saw it was fairly easy for it to you know uh, do stuff locally and answer questions, and that never went out to the cloud. It didn't ask the internet AI for that. That was all local. Now, the reason this is becoming more and more important is, first of all, I'm going to show you two Delphi, in fact, three Delphi open source projects that work in the same way that Llama CPP, or LM Studio work. But the reason is because of this kind of thing. And this is that Claude, which I personally believe is probably um, the most powerful coding AI there is out there, Claude, they're dropping their unlimited API. This is very bad news for anybody that's using a tool that isn't actually Claude Code itself, their little thing, because from June the 15th, you're going to have to pay some money for it. How much is the you're paying? It's a lot. And someone did a little comparison recently about how much it would be, and they came out with like $1,000 a month to suit what they're doing at the moment for $100 a month plan. So it's I don't know if that's true or not, but all I can tell you is that if you go to Claude's website, which should refresh any minute now, hello website, there you go. Here's their pricing. So these are not TikToks; these are million tokens, and tokens are the new currency for it, and um, input and output costs you. And this is the thing. And Maxi Donkey, by the way, is saying that LM Studio runs particularly well. Yes, I actually found LM Studio to be quicker than Olama, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. But you know, we're also going to do some of our own stuff. But I have both Olama and LM Studio, which is why Olama didn't start up, because I've got them both doing things at the same time, and I killed them. But um, I on my Mac, you can download models that are particularly suited for Apple Mac's silicon chip, and they have a thing called MLX, which is their special machine learning core. And if you download a model that is specifically targeting that chipset, it's double the speed. And I tested it, and it is roughly double the speed, which is good. But LM Studio, yeah, it's absolutely great on Windows hardware. So this is what you're looking at in terms of cost. Now, you might think a million tokens, which is what MTOC stands for, you think, well, that's actually pretty good, you know, a million tokens, but no, it's not. You know, um, if you are coding for say a whole month and you're using something like Opus 4.7 now, Opus 4.7 is you know the best that's out there at the moment. I think that's probably true. Then it will not be very long before you burn through those million tokens. The way that they announce their API pricing is if you have a plan that's say $100 plan, then you get I think $100 worth of tokens, uh, which is great, but that's only 4 million tokens worth of output. Now, you saw when I asked it the question, I asked it who was the first king of England. Well, that probably took, I don't know, 500 or 600 tokens. If you ask it something more complicated, and generally, you know, you're going to ask it when it comes to coding, you're going to have a whole bunch of stuff like a design spec. You're going to ask it to understand some information that you've got on your local drive. You might use something like RAG, which is a way of augmenting its information with local files. That's when you start burning through those input tokens. The output tokens is the answers it gives you. And so you saw in my Claude, my LM Studio answer there, it was pretty long. You know, as uh, as Jay Dredd says, just like your favorite video arcade game back in the day, Claude will eat your tokens. Yes, it will. And I think that AI tokens are becoming the new currency. Claude was the first to really jump in the direction of charging a lot of money for those tokens. I suspect that eventually this will wash out, and what will happen is that it will become cheaper for these tokens. But you're looking at significant, you know, expense. Uh, this pricing changes only for the API calls. Yes, exactly. So you know, you pay to be the token for things like OpenClaw. Yes, but actually, a lot of people are using all sorts of hybrid solutions, and I'll show you why that's a problem in a moment as well. Because this is Claude Opus 4.7. You can use a less capable model, and you'll burn through fewer uh, tokens in a way. As Maxi Donkey says, in 2 weeks with the Anthropic SDK and Pythia projects, I spent over €250 on API calls for testing alone. Yes, that's exactly it. And I mean, it's okay if you're going to use their sort of interface, their chat bot type thing, or you're more commonly you're using a command line thing. But even so, it's going to start getting expensive. And when using it to create documents and stuff like that, then it starts to get crazy. Now they do nicely price out the table here for the different models. So you can go, all right, well, I'll use Claude Haiku 4.5, which is great, except it's probably not going to do what you want. Claude Haiku is tuned really to writing. So if you're a writer and you're producing technical documentation, for example, and you want to use the AI to help you do that, then Claude Haiku is probably going to be the one. But you'll notice it's $1 for a million tokens, or $1 25 for caching and all the rest of it. It's cheaper, but you get what you pay for, really, and that's it. And like I say, although I'm calling out Claude here, there are plenty of other people doing that as well. So let's look at what options there are around there, okay, in Pascal or Delphi. And there are some, by the way, I forgot to mention as well, the reason that it's also important is if you go into your options here, you can turn on Smart Code Insight like this, and you can then use your local model like Olama or LM Studio for Smart Code Insight. You can also pick if you want the chat window to be using Olama or OpenAI or Gemini or Claude. At the moment, it's an absolute mess in the world of AI in terms of pricing, because Gemini does cost you this much, OpenAI costs you that much, and Claude costs you so much. So buy says off what he's off. But the difficulty is the predictability of the cost. For example, this has hit some very big companies. Those of you that know a company called Salesforce, they had a budget for their AI token use, and they had an annual budget, and they have already burnt through their entire year's AI budget in 3 months. So that is 4 times as much AI budget usage as they anticipated. Now, the way that the market is so volatile at the moment, I think that the cloud-based providers, and I said this to you all at the end of 2025 last year, 2026 will be the year of reckoning. It will be the time when you have to be in the AI market or not. And if you're not, you're probably going to be competing against people that can iterate over things more quickly than you. It's just a fact of life. And if you say you'll never use AI, I totally understand why some people say that. But the reality is you're going to be coming across people that are using AI. And we do use AI for certain things in the, Idera and Embarcadero. And I was very skeptical 2 years ago, extremely skeptical. Now I can safely say I am completely converted. I think that it's not the solution to replace everybody, but it is definitely something that you cannot ignore. It's completely usable, credible. You can create applications with all sorts of stuff. But there you can use Olama and connect to it, and that's built into the ID. So let's have a look at some options. So first one here is this one. I'm going to put the a QR code up for this one. So this is called PAS LM. Okay, and there's a QR code in the top right hand corner there. Now PAS LM is completely written in Delphi. Okay, no Python, no external dependencies, and no inference. Okay, it is basically Olama, or really more like llama.cpp if you've heard of that. It can use quantized models. If you know what that is, you'll understand how important that is. And this one does not use any acceleration. So it does it all on the CPU. They are going to, he says he will add GPU acceleration in the future. He contacted me the other day and told me about this project. I already have another project I'm going to talk about in a moment, but it's very interesting. So how does it work? Well, if you go to PaaS LM, you can download it. It's completely open source and completely free, and you run it like this. So you go into a command line and you run it. Let me just pull up the IDE because I have a demo app to show you what it does. So this one, I'm going to open it. My machine is grinding because I have all sorts of things on. So here's the source code. I'm going to zoom the source code down a little bit so you can see a bit more of it. In fact, let's close the object inspector. Whoops. So those of you who've not seen me with code before, I am a weirdo and I use a Dracula a theme, so my colors are a bit odd, but they show up more easily on camera. So these purples and pinks and all the rest of it. I didn't write this code, this is all him. So here's a whole bunch of complicated stuff. And really all it's doing is getting to the point where it can actually run this PaaS LM. Now, what I did was it will do nothing until you've actually downloaded some form of model. So if you go to Hugging Face, which is literally as it sounds, huggingface.co, and then once you sign up for it, you will be presented with a load of models. And this is why I want you to understand the difference between the inference machine and the model itself. So I've downloaded some models here. This one is a Gemma 3 4 billion model, and it explains what all of these means. So GUF is just a format. Okay, so let's go back to here and run this. So if I compile this, it should compile properly, which it does. And what it does is it runs in the command line. So let's just go over, and the command line is that. Okay. It takes a little while, and that prompt you could change to say, ask me a question. So if I say what I asked LM Studio, who was the first king of England? It will go away and use no graphics at all. It is using this all CPU, but it's already thinking about what I've said. Now it is going slowly. I am broadcasting using AI. My camera that you see has got an AI clarification. At the same time, my microphone, which is down here, you've never seen my microphone before, behold. My microphone has AI noise cancelling on it. How good is the noise cancelling? Well, if I clap my hands, you can't hear me clapping my hands. My dog can bark. He never barks, but if my dog barked, you wouldn't hear it. Meanwhile, whilst it's doing that, you can see that it's gone ahead and it says, okay, I'm thinking about this. Okay, so the user is asking who was the first king of England. This is exactly the same as LM Studio or Olama. You would get a very similar process. What's interesting is you remember that LM Studio came back and said it thought the first king of England was Athelstan, you know, with that weird A, E joined together. It says that Athelstan was the first king of England. This model, because that's how it works, it gets the models, you know, the models have more parameters. This one's only got 6 billion parameters. That line up there where it says Quen 3.0. So this is the 3.0 version of Quen, which is just a model, an AI model. 6 billion parameters. G obliterated. I'm not even sure what this all means. Quantized, etc., etc., and it's a safe tense. It's just a format, a bit like .doc, you know, or something like that. But this is a fully working AI. So I can ask it something like, which country has a bigger population, France or Italy? And I actually don't know the answer to this. I'm going to guess France. But you can see it's not super rapid, but first of all, it's working, and second of all, it is actually, answering my question and thinking about it and talking about it, whilst my machine, which is an Intel PC, this is not running on my Mac, which is super powered and would be super fast. It's thinking at so many tokens a second, not very fast, but it says, all right, well, how many people live in Italy? And it doesn't know is the answer. It thinks there are 66 million people in Italy, and France has 67 million, but it's not quite sure. So it thinks that they're roughly the same, and that's a good answer actually. No, I don't know what the right answer is. So it has asked me how many people live in Italy. If I was asking it, a question that was a bit more usable, then it would give me the answer, and I could go on, and it could interrogate me the rest of it. So anyway, it supports. I think I can say help on this. Uh, yeah. Okay. So it's a bit like watching paint dry. It's like those old typewriter things you used to have in movies. I'm not going to worry too much about this. Let's once it's finished. Italy has a population of approximately 66 million people. Okay, whatever. I think I can say quit in this version. Yeah, quit. So that is a CPU only one. Now, would it be much use if you were going to do something simple, and and you were going to build this into your app, for example. So you wanted AI in your app with a very um, small set of questions that you wanted to do. Good at understanding English, for example. There are models that are very good at processing, numeric information, statistics, and stuff like that. This one is just a general purpose model. So great. Okay, that's not a bad little demo. So CPU only, limited use. Let us instead close this and look at a different project. So the next project that I want to show you is called Vindex. Okay. And it's actually a project called Vindex LLM. Let me just pull that one up. And it is from a really great developer called Tiny Big Games. Okay. GitHub.com/tinybiggames, and then look up Vindex LLM. So what does Vindex LLM do? Well, this one is a GPU accelerated. Okay. What does that mean? It's quicker because it's using my AI, my graphics card to generate things. And it could do some, like just answer one question and close again, so you save all memory, or it can keep going and answer a bunch of questions. It is partially coded with AI. I don't think the developer would be particularly worried about saying that. The developer is Jared. He's really, really great guy. But I did say to him, "Hey, Jared, do you want to come on?" And he's like, "Oh God, I'm way too camera shy," which is fine. But he's a really good guy. But he creates a lot of projects. So let's have a look at Vindex LLM and see what you can do with that. Well, I called it Vulkan test, which is incorrect. Vulkan is just the graphics thing. By the way, I'm going to answer your questions in a minute because you've got a load of things. So what do we need to deploy besides a PAS LLM CLI.exe? Just the library, just the large language model, and I'll show you those in a minute. So this is a question that I'm being asked. So what do we need to deploy besides PAS LLM? Let me show you. So what I did was in the code, I point it to this particular folder. So I happen to have downloaded a few because I was testing a few to see what it is. But you just download one of these files and it will work. This is for PAS LLM because it understands the GGUF format, which is a generic format. It is an AI format. Now, This one uses a slightly different format. I think there's a common one. Here it is. Oh, let me see. Yeah. Uh, no, can't remember. I've got the model set up somewhere, and I can't remember where I set it up. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up for a second. Hold on. Well, maybe I didn't then. Okay, all right. Well, I don't know what I've done with it, but basically, there's a path that points to the. Oh, there, that. Duh, duh. I was looking in the wrong place. I thought it was in his comment thing. This one's exactly the same. You can load them in there. The various formats are fairly obvious. Once you go to Hugging Face, good luck because there's so many of them understanding what it is. But that's just what you deploy. It's just one of those libraries, and then the command line, and off you go. No dependencies. It doesn't need anything else. Um, just the executable, the command line. You could literally copy it onto a thumb drive. You need quite a big thumb drive for these because these files are not insignificant. This one is actually they're not that bad. What one am I using? Q4 underscore zero. This one. Yeah, I mean it's 271 megabytes for this particular large language model. Most of them come in the gigabyte size, so multiple gigabytes. If you've got a 10 gig thumb drive, you could copy it onto there. So how does this work? Well, let's run it and have a look. This is literally all the code in it. Okay, it's got a load of includes because I lazily copied it in from a demo. But to set it up, point it to the model path, the embedder path, which does some extra stuff, and then this one can actually store memory between sessions. So this is a bit more useful. Max tokens is set to 1024. Now you might want to increase that. The max tokens is how hard it will think about things and how big of an answer it can give you. Um, the temperature and all the rest of it, you need to Google these and work out what they do. But let's just run this. And as long as I've done it correctly, it should load the model. Now, it is going to affect my video. So you might see my video jerk around, and it is going to affect my microphone as well. So I apologize in advance. The reason is because this is accelerated using my graphics card. Um, and it's all of that going on is going to take a while to actually load it. Now it's loaded it. Now, if I can actually do something cool, so I can say, who was the first king of England, which is my standard question at the moment. And it will go off and say, and by the way, did you notice how quickly it comes up with the answer? It's twice as fast as the other one. And it says, well, I think it's either Athelstan or it's Alfred the Great. Now, what's cool about that is, remember I asked LM Studio the question and it said Athelstan, and I asked Paz LLM using a different model the question and it said Alfred the Great. And actually, they're both right because this one points out why you've got two potential answers. Isn't that cool? It actually says, well, it depends on how you look at it, because this is deliberately the reason I'm asking this question is it's not easy to get a straight answer. If you asked a human this, they would probably give the answer you're seeing on the screen now, which is, well, it depends what you mean by King of England, because England was a lot more things. Athelstan was considered the first King of England, but Alfred the Great was the King of Wessex, who then went on to conquer all the others. So that is absolutely perfect answer. Now, I get what you're thinking. Well, that's good, but how is this of any use whatsoever? So let's try this. I think this works. Create a Delphi class suitable for. Oops, I spelled suitable wrong. Although we'll actually cope with spelling mistake. Suitable for storing um, the details of an employee. Okay. We go off and do that. Okay, it says, here we go. Da, da, da. There is your Delphi class. And it's also even giving you some optional answers to it as well. Now, what you've got here is a couple of important things in this demo. In fact, let's let it finish before we get to the end. Da, da, da. Cool, it's very thorough, isn't it? Here are ways we can improve this. It's really giving you all the answers you can find. Now, the reason that the code is slightly weirdly annotated is it's coming back as rich as Markdown. Okay, and it's had a bit of a nervous breakdown at the end, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So, first of all, it's created a credible class. In other words, you could copy and paste that into a document and it would work. Secondly, it's giving you some suggestions about how you can improve it. And thirdly, it knew what I meant by Delphi and class. It understands the programming language and it generates it. Now, I'm not trying to claim it's as good as Olama, it's as good as LM Studio, or it's as good as Claude Code. But what you have here is Delphi producing a large language model inference engine as good as or as effective as Olama or LM Studio for free, under your control, open source, in your hands, right here. Now, reality is you're going to use one of the models, that are commercially available. This is a free model. I downloaded it from Hugging Face. Didn't cost me a single cent. Cost me nothing to do all of the things I'm doing here. Ask stupid questions about kings, ask simple questions about Delphi classes, and all the rest of it. But this is a starting point for you to go further on and add AI to your applications, and not just simple. I'm going to, create an appointment for you, like one of the webinars I did before, but real AI that is loading in models that are appropriate to your use case. Okay. And this model, I know, does actually support this interface. Look at this. What would you like to do? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just lost the plot at the end there. And I suspect this is because I'm doing so much on my graphics card, it's caused it to have a bit of a breakdown. Also, the context window is only set to 1024 tokens. If I quadrupled that to 4096 or whatever the multiple is, it would be able to give me a much more straight answer. I wouldn't freak out like that. You would tune it, you would play with it, you would mess around with the heat scale and all the rest of it. If I say help, you can see that it comes back and gives me help. There are all sorts of options. If I can say stats, for example, instant answer, very, very well coded, very clever piece of code. It's telling me how much of my RAM it's used, how much cache it's used, how many turns I've done. I can set the number of tokens on the fly. So you see where that last bit of text is all corrupt, where it's just gone, would you like to add or do, or would you do, like it's suddenly had some kind of brain breakdown. I could increase the tokens on the fly and do it. Ready for you today. Open source, you can download it. Now, what are the dependencies? Zero. Zero dependencies, just the executable. And in fact, I'm going to exit this so I can show you. So just the quit, sorry. Okay, one's quit, one's exit. So just the executable and the library. Now, I've chosen to add the embedder path and all the rest of it. You don't actually need these. All you need is that model there. And I showed you already. Where did I get the model? Well, I went to Hugging Face. Oh dear. I went to where is Hugging Face? Hugging Face. I went to Hugging Face and picked the models up from there and download them. And as I said before, completely free, no cost to it. And by the way, when you go into here, you can say, well, what models do you want? you can pick the various models, you can choose the types of data sets, you choose the specialism of the large language model, because some of them are specialized at, say, writing, for example. So if you were trying to create a, I don't know, editor, and you wanted to have a AI assistant that cost you zero, and all you deployed with your executable, with your own app, would be one of these files. Okay, uh, with your app, and then you can have AI built into your app. And when the customer says to you, "Well, that's all very well, but how much is it going to cost me for the AI to be built in my app to answer all those questions about, the writing style, or I don't know, maybe you're getting it to answer questions about data sets, how many widgets you made in November compared to the previous November, and what the trend is, or some nonsense like that." You can do all of that absolutely for free, for free, and ship it with it. And do you know what I really like about this? Zero lines of anything else. All Delphi, all Pascal, actually, same difference. Pascal, Object Pascal, and or Delphi, and no Python, no C++, no nothing. It's all ready to go. Now, if you're a C++ developer, it wouldn't be difficult for you to redo these and make these work. I'm sure it would be possible to make these work. If you want to see exactly, exactly where it is, let me just say, show an Explorer. There's going to be a load of DCUs in here, but there's two things. In fact, let's get rid of those DCUs for a second. You don't need them. I don't need this file either, but I'm not sure whether. But these are the two things that make the thing work. And if I load up Vulkan again, there you go. It's working out of the box. I've got rid of everything apart from that one thing. I think it's very, very cool. This is the one that's on the screen at the moment, but there is a PAS LLM as well. Now, I think it's great, and the good news is, believe it or not, there's another one available as well, and that is Pascal GPT. It is here. It's dolphin.magnumlabs.com.br. As usual and forever, of course, there is a Brazilian dude in the background. But let me see if I got that one up. Unfortunately, I don't have a QR code for that one, but you can see it here. If I click on it, it makes it easier to see. But magnumlabs.com.br, so for Brazil, go there, and he's got exactly the same thing. Now, his is a little bit more complicated, shall we say. You can actually train LLMs and stuff like that as well. He goes into a lot of depth, how it works and all the rest of it. So I don't know. I mean, read what it says. Again, it's all Delphi, all open source and ready to go. I think it's great. And you want to get a model. Pick a model. There's a model that you could want, a stable diffusion. By the way, I didn't mention that before. I think there's a top 10 list somewhere. Where is it? No, I'm sure there's a top 10 list. Anyway, there's some that understand vision. There's some where you can upload an image and then say to it, explain this image. So it will do all the things like image detection and say, oh, there's a Spock in the background, there's a video game console, oh, there's a Delphi helmet, there's a tree, there's a ukulele, there's bongos and stuff like that, and all the other crazy stuff that I have in my office. But there are models in there to do it. So these are completely free. You can pick your weapon, either Vindex LM, or if you choose instead go to use Pass LLM. I've just given you the means to basically, compete with, not realistically, but compete with Llama, llama.cpp, no CPP required, no C++ required, or LM Studio. You can go and do a similar thing in your own apps built in. Questions? Isn't it great? So let's stop sharing for now. Let's go back to me, like so. Ooh, hello. I said stop sharing, and it's got confused about what the stop sharing is. Hello. Well, that was weird. I think my LLMs probably broke the interface that we had. So that's it. Let's have a look at the questions because there are a whole bunch of questions. Okay, so right, the short answer here is it depends on the model and it depends on the hardware that you've got. The reality is, if you're going to do anything with AI, you need to have a bit of a beastly computer. Um, I'm not suggesting that this is a thing to generate code. Okay. More on that another time because we've got some projects coming up that I'm going to show you that are to do with generating code and IDEs and all that kind of stuff. Come along and keep watching the webinars. Trust me, good things are coming. But how useful is it producing useful complex code? Well, quantization of a model has a big effect, but if you were trying to run it locally, I use Olama locally, and it can generate good code and complex code, interfaces, proper separation of concerns, all those kind of things. Olama can do that. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you can completely replace that. I'm sure that you would need to play around with it and see. All I'm saying is, I'm giving you the tools. Have a look and see and work out for yourself. I would say this is more useful for people who are trying to put agentic or generalized AI type facility in one of their apps rather than use it as something for the IDE. I do use Smart Code Insight and a few other tools as well, and they link to Olama and they link to LM Studio, and they work absolutely fine. I'm not taxing it, but my GM, for example, Ben, the other day, he said to me, I created a calculator app. I'm like, what? He went, look, I use this tool to do it. And he was playing around with AI. And I'm like, what? He's like vibe coded some calculator app. But the coolest thing about that is that he would not describe himself as a hardcore developer. Marco and myself, we're Delphi guys through and through. We cut us open, it says Delphi down the middle, right? So to see someone who is not primarily a Delphi coder, and he'd be the first to admit that, actually doing things with AI and generating what was actually an app, it worked. I wouldn't say it was that complicated, but doing it with AI and kind of going, "Hey, I just vibe coded this." Cool, it's we kind of, the rest of us code it. He said, "You guys who are developers, you're just like laughing at me now." I said, "No, I'm pleased for you, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is." But he produced a good looking app. It was very credible. Maxi Donkey, who is an expert on this stuff, by the way, he says local LLMs are still very limiting for current code needs. Yes, I absolutely agree. I think that the reality is, if you are going to do this at scale and you're trying to do majority of the work with AI, then eventually you're going to decide to pay for a subscription. I personally have Claude. Myself, I have an expensive Claude subscription because that's just the back end that seems to work for me. I will be swapping to a Claude API just because of the combination of tools that I use. The API makes more sense. I'm a bit worried because actually, a bit like the early days of AWS, it was very, very difficult to set a budget with Claude and say, spend $100 and no more. You can't really do that. It's not really easy to do that. So, um, I absolutely agree. Most people, by the way, use command line stuff like Claude Code and things like that as well. Um, I think that our typical Delphi developers vary between people who are just open up a bash prompt and do things to the more likely the reason they use Delphi is the, like, the visual side of it. So yeah, it is what it is. But really, what it's about is having choices, you know. And one thing's for certain: AI is the future, whether you like it or not. But Maxi Donkey, by the way, is a fan. Yeah, I think. Judge Dredd says the big thing I struggle with is what it takes to make my own data to pull from live-changing database data and standalone static data to pull from to doing industry-specific things. Yes, and actually, this is very relevant. The reason is that there's some new things coming out for Interbase, and one of them includes AI. So the reason is that um, trying to do things with data using an AI is very effective because SQL is kind of a narrow language set. And the things you can do with it, it's not general purpose like Delphi or C++ or something like that. It's single purpose, um, but it is what's the word I'm looking for? It changes. The task you're using it to do is always the same: extracting data or updating data. Maybe DDL and as well, but generally speaking, you're trying to get some picture of that data and do something with it, and that's quite a narrow field of expertise. Whereas Delphi or C++ or even Python or something like that, it's a very broad canvas, and so AI has got a lot more to contend with. And I think that for SQL, I think the future for I'd be very worried if I was DB administrator, because I think that the future in very if it hasn't already happened, and it probably nearly has, but if it hasn't already happened, DBAs will end up only using AI and tuning very small amounts of things that didn't quite work because large language models are very, very good at understanding SQLs. So yeah, it's a big thing. Croc says hello, hello, hi. And training says WR Birdie. Yes, that's the other thing is being able to train models. That's really a subject for another time. Is actually about how to create your own LLMs, your own large language models. This is not really practical for normal people. Um, you know, trying to create an 8 billion parameter model is not really feasible. But what is feasible is to supplement a large language model like Claude Code type things um, with your own information, your own documentation. So, for example, if you're doing database queries, then you would supplement it with um, additional information about describing what those tables are. Now, you can do that in the form of comments because most LLMs can understand comments and absorb them and do something with them. Or it could be that you give it a load of Markdown documents. Markdown is fast becoming the default language, shall we say, for documentation. Um, I think that's probably true that you know Markdown is the new unified exchange format for AI. They can read PDFs and they can read other things as well, but Markdown's just easy as a text file. So you tend to then present it with a bunch of information about, by the way, here's my folder structure, here's my coding style, here are things I don't want you to do, here's some keys that I'm going to give you that will allow you to write to a staging website, but not the production website. Be careful of that. Someone had that happen recently where they wiped out their business because the same key would also affect the production model. The AI recognized and went, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry, I messed up there." Too late, basically put them out of business. But training the models is and supplementing the models with RAG and various other things as well is commonplace and something we'll talk about in the future as well. For those of you that are still watching, and there's quite a lot actually. Oh yeah, hundreds. um, for those of you that are watching, you should, if you missed it earlier on, I strongly recommend that you scan this QR code because our next webinar will not be Tuesday, won't be today. It'll be a Thursday. Okay, and the reason is I've got some friends coming for the party, and they can't do Tuesday, so we're going to do it on a Thursday instead. And because some of them are based in Europe and therefore slackers, they will actually be doing it early. So come along next week on Thursday, and it will be at 10 a.m. And let me put that card up again. So it is this one. Scan that QR code and it will take you to the right place. I think I've got caption for it as well. Let me see. Yes. If you can't scan the QR code, then instead go to tinyurl.com/new rad flow. And Marco will be there with me. Most of you know who Marco is, Senior PM on Rad Studio. And the other one will be the boss of Embarcadero, the GM, which is Ben Schwenk. And register for that webinar. If you're watching on YouTube, click on the subscribe button. It works on LinkedIn as well. So if you're on LinkedIn, subscribe. And don't miss this one because it'll be definitely worth watching. 10 a.m. New workflow is coming. There you go. Cool stuff. I think I'm going to call it a day now. Let me see where we're at. So let me hide that. So you get to see me and Mortal Kombat in the background. I'm not allowed to actually show the Mortal Kombat games. I don't know whether you know, but when Mortal Kombat first came out, it was banned because of graphic violence. And it is pretty graphic. I mean, there's some bits where the person gets their head ripped off, for example. There's another one where one of the bosses holds the person's insides up. So it's showing at the moment Rampage, which is actually immortalized in some Pixar thing. Oh, Wreck-It Ralph. Yes, if you watch Wreck-It Ralph, you'll actually see this appear, Rampage. This plays like 17 different games, and it is a working copy of an arcade machine. And it goes online as well. You can actually play me online. I never do it. I never play games, but it is what it is. Okay, so that's it. I've got another couple of questions. I can vouch for that as well. Jared's very innovative. Yes, Jared, Tiny Big Games, is the guy that created one of those models, and he's crazy as a box of frogs. Jared won't mind me saying this, but he's not quite right in a good way. In a good way. He is a games creator by trade, and he creates some really good games. So Tiny Big Games, just go along, Tiny Big Games. But he produces a whole bunch of stuff. He's got a compiler that compiles Delphi code written in Delphi, which you can put in your own apps. Whatever, but it's completely Delphi, and yeah, it's wild. He does all sorts of different projects. Just go to his GitHub and have a look. You'll be blown away by what he can do. He's a bit crazy. Vindex LM dependency will be having a GPU that has a GPU Vulkan driver support. Yes, actually, I'm a bit lucky. My card is an NVIDIA card, and all NVIDIA cards for years have had Vulkan support. Mine does, which is why it works quite well on my machine and why it came up the answers quickly. The other one, which we showed earlier on, which was the PAS LLM, sorry. That doesn't use the GPU, it's just CPU only, and works fine. It is relatively slow, but they both are really, compared to, I don't know, a fully tuned um, Olama or LM Studio or something like that. But yeah, what did I set the context size to? I can't remember. I think had it at the default, which is 1024. In reality, you'd have at least four times that. Look, you're not gonna, the good thing about doing it locally is you can play around with it, and you're not going to burn through tokens, so nobody cares. When I use our Llama, my minimum token size is 4096, just because that's how it works. Ask it to change the code to allow for automatic resource collection. Yes, I'm sure you can break it. I did ask one of the LMs the other day, uh, what weekday will the 18th of November be this year? It's my birthday. And it went round and round in a loop, and I had to stop it in the end because it kept going, now, 18th of November. And it didn't have access to the operating system to ask it what the date was. So it couldn't work out what today was, and therefore it couldn't calculate from there what the weekday was for the 18th of November. It was hilarious. And it's not, it's not the fault of the thing. I just asked it a question it couldn't possibly answer, but it was hilarious to see it go, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. It was just like reading around. It's the first thing I asked it as well. Completely broke it. But what if I need it only for my application, not for anything else? And when you say for your application, do you mean, um, oh, it's Alexander, I know you are. Uh, how much data do I need to carry with it and how to train it to be familiar with my application? Actually, you just need to go to Hugging Face and have a look at their models there, because they have them tuned for different reasons. Without knowing your application, I don't know. And training it is something completely different. Go to the project and ask the people that are maintainers. I'm just showing the project. I'm not an expert on it. I can compile the code and understand what it says. Training it and all that kind of stuff, that's a whole different game. What I can tell you is that the Tiny Big Games one has got memory across contexts and stuff like that as well, which is interesting. The PAS LLM doesn't have that, so it would be a problem. Can I train it to control my application? Again, I don't know. You'd need to ask them about that. The tool use is one of the things that the LLMs can understand. This is great. I need to drop for now. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Great. Yeah. Thank you. The whole point about replays. And by the way, I must say hello to. Now, let me just pull it up who it was. Yeah, I must say hello to Jason Chapman. Hello, Jason. How are you? The reason I'm saying it at that speed is he watches the webinar at two times the speed, double speed, which is impressive because sometimes I get carried away and drink too much caffeine and I end up speaking too fast. So Jason can now understand me. Bless him. He's gone somewhere else. Jason Chapman runs the UK dev group, by the way. Any AI studio clients use API calls under the hood? Yes, of course. And however, each has its own hooks on optimizing caching. Yes, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute this is completely ready to go commercial solution. I'm saying it's interesting, isn't it? Look at it doing stuff, work it out from there, like anything. Yeah. See, now you're coming up with some very interesting models. Yeah, and people may not realize this, but some of the models, well, in fact, most of the models are censored to avoid you saying racist or adult things. But the uncensored ones, which are out there, say some really outrageous things, and you could literally, I mean, if you were building some kind of insult app, you can definitely go ahead and do it with this the uncensored ones. It's great. I'd go to Hugging Face, explain how the models work and everything. The code is just to make it happen. Is there a definition of the current Delphi language? No, there isn't actually, and there's a reason for that. and that is because we just don't have one. um, there have been a few attempts by MVPs to create a definition of the language. Right now, I think R&D's standard answer is that the compiler itself is the definition of the language. However, in order to fix the code formatting that is obviously an issue, because it's missing and people miss it like hell, and there are alternatives out there for code formatting, but we are going to put it back in the IDE. In order to do that, a definition of the current Delphi language would be very useful. You're welcome if you want to come to me with a definition that works and it's set out and say Backhouse Nor form or something, whatever the forms are that are out there, the standard thing. I'm remembering back to computer science days and stuff like that. I think it's BNR, BNF, sorry. But if anybody comes to me with a perfect, and I mean perfect, BNF definition and they want to keep maintaining it, talk to me and I will come up with something to some way of saying thank you that will be worth your while. I'm not talking about money, but we'll work something out, and you'll definitely get my recognition. If you can do it, great. It's not an easy task. It's much more complicated than you can think. I know because our guys always talking about that kind of thing. It's not I don't have to worry about that. It is what it is. To produce useful code using AI, you need to feed it a lot of information and actually become a prompt master. Yes, that's actually, and that's Oren. Hello, Oren from Delphi Parser. It's actually very true that the skill in the future is probably not going to be coding. I mean, you're going to need to understand coding in order to code, because I think if you can't code, then it's actually quite difficult to use the AI properly. What your main skill is going to be is what we would call architect, so architectural design. In other words, you tell it what you want, and you need to understand how to tell it what to do properly in order to get the right answers out. And so I think that our future skill set will, yes, you'll need to understand if it creates a bug, you're going to have to look at that code. And once you can say to it, explain that bug, if it gets it wrong, you need to have enough knowledge to know it's wrong. Because AI at the moment, until it's triple the power it is at the moment, AI is still going to be times where AI is just not able to do the job. It'll create a bug and then just cannot work out what on earth is up with it and why it's wrong, which is where we come in, right? Where we are the biological interface to the AI. But getting to the point where you actually create programs with AI, you have to start off from the position of telling it exactly what you want. But you know what we used to call that back in the day? Telling a computer what you wanted? Coding. So really all that we're doing here is swapping, high level coding languages, because we used to have, dip switches and used to flick them on in the Altairs and all the rest of it to program them. You would literally type in the zeros and ones by flicking switches and pressing a key and doing that. Then we got over that by having an assembler, so it had kind of pseudocode to do it, and then that progressed to high level code like Pascal, Fortran, all the others. And I think that natural language is going to be the new software development programming language, which is what you're saying, really. And I think that if you've got an assistant, let's say Spot was real, okay, and he was alive, hi Spot, and he was my assistant. If I was asking him to create a program, probably in the 90s, I would have a bunch of diagrams and books, and we would have a whiteboard and we would go through them. I have a whiteboard next to me, which is why I'm pointing at, but we would have a whiteboard and we'd draw boxes and I'd draw flowcharts. I have a qualification because I'm old. I have a qualification in flowcharting. I'm not joking. I have a British Standard flowcharting qualification, because back in the day, that's what you needed in order to do the job that I did. And so we would draw flowcharts and telling the coders exactly what we wanted in terms of logic, what the screen should have, and all the rest of it. And it was important to get those flowcharts right, but also to draw the screens out in a way that would fit the screens of the day, which were like this kind of thing, weird kind of almost square but not square, and so many text characters. And I think that the future of AI will be akin to that. You'll be able to tell the AI what you want and make mistakes, but generally speaking, you have to be quite accurate on what you tell the AI to get it right. Otherwise, as it always was, garbage in, garbage out. If you tell it badly what you want, it's going to do the job right, but produce a bad result. So, understanding as well where it can make mistakes, you're probably going to prompt it to in certain ways and provide it with information to help it do the job. So if you know that your junior coder doesn't understand a certain type of data structure, then you're going to have to explain it to him and tell him what you want that data structure to be, why you want it there, or maybe you don't even care once you've got AI. Who cares about the underlying data, right? And we don't really care about registers and CPU cycles when we're writing in a high level language. Some do, but most don't. So I think that that's where we're going to be. We're going to be telling AI as accurately as possible and taking into consideration where it's going to mess up and give it instructions to help it not mess up and understand what things it's going to need to do a good job. That's where I think we're going to be, and we're going to be there pretty much now, where we are now. Are other AI applications possible in Delphi using these repositories besides chat-based AI? Well, yeah. I mean, look at the models there, and I think you need to go to the repositories and have a look. But I show the last couple of webinars I've shown MCP, for example, MCP servers, but I also showed TMS's AI where I was creating appointments using natural language. So the user would type in, "Oh, create me an appointment for next Friday. I need a half-hour appointment." It would find a gap in the appointment schedule and create a half hour, a 30-minute appointment automatically, understanding from my natural language question, not me saying, "Great appointment, 30-minute, blah blah," like a robot. So, is it possible to do it? Yes. Go and look at the site and read more about it. It's a big topic. That's why I can't have everything. Local usage is severely limited by the need to reconstruct a proper structured conversation history. Yes, actually, the second thing that I showed you, Vindex, does actually keep a conversation history, not a flat Q&A transcript. It's got a database. It uses SQLite, I think, and it keeps context between conversations. I don't know how it does it because I didn't look into it, but that's one of the things that it differentiates itself as it supports GPU acceleration because it uses shaders to do it. GPU acceleration, and then it keeps context between conversations and that. We need input images to build apps, transform in forms. I see what you mean. So what you're saying is, in order to design a screen, you would have a layout. Well, that's kind of what Delphi does already. And we'll talk about in the future because there's some AI that I'm aware of that you could say, take this screen that I've laid out, make it support dark mode and light mode, and tie up the code on the background, create the events or buttons or whatever. So I think that is where we're heading. But actually, there's already AI that can look at a pencil sketch and convert that pencil sketch into a design, and then take that design and convert it into an app. So not Delphi, but there it's that much of a step away. I guarantee there's someone watching this now, some MVP somewhere, who is probably going to produce that. You sketch it up out on a piece of paper or a napkin, from a restaurant, and it will produce a screen. I guarantee someone's going to come up with that. Is Embarcadero planning to incorporate AI into the Delphi ID for aiding Delphi developers? We have done some already with Smart Code Insight, and we definitely are 100% behind AI. And as soon as we're ready to talk about it, we will talk about it. What our next steps are, but we are not sticking with just Code Insight, Smart Code Insight, which is chat window and a few other things as well. No, there'll be a lot more. Don't worry. Definitely happening. And you're saying in code generation, yes. The company definitely intend to do that. There are some solutions out there already, but we're looking at a lot more to find out. Hi, Ian. Good work. Thank you. Okay, so Judge Dredd says the Vindex LLM. I ran this on my 2015 HP Elite desk. So this is an 11-year-old PC, 800 G2 system with an Intel 530 chipset. Good grief, which was slow, but it shows how the Vulkan API can work even on old stuff. Yes. So that would be considered quite an old PC now, 11 years old, but even so, yes, it worked. At the end of the day as well, you could be given this tasks that you don't care how long it takes as long as it does it this week. I know it sounds stupid, but with the context windows and things like that, if you set them up to right size, yeah, it could go away and do it. In Delphi, why is Rampage in the Mortal Kombat 2 case? It can play up to 17 games, that thing. And I can't show Mortal Kombat on YouTube. If I do, we get deprioritized. But it can play Mortal Kombat, Tubin, Defender, I think. I think it does. You want to see what it can do? Let's just briefly show that, right? If I press this button here and say, leave this game, and go here. If I go down here, whoops. Let's choose Defender. There you go. Take a little while to load up, but now it plays Defender. And it is made by Midway, the people that used to make the original thing. It's the real McCoy. It is full size, same as I don't do things by half. When I got a spot cut out, it's a full size cut. And yes, I've got electric guitar and I've got stuff as well. I mean, this is my office. I want my office to be cool, why not? I mean, these are things that I used to like when I was younger. I wish it were like anti-gravity. Well, you know what? Stick around and we'll see what's coming. There's stuff happening. But that says that ain't right. I know. I just can't show Mortal Kombat. Sorry, but if I do, we get problems. It's by the way, this doesn't just have Mortal Kombat 2 on it. It has Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, and Mortal Kombat Ultimate. It has 4 versions of Mortal Kombat. I actually wanted to have Gallagher, and the reason is that in the background here, you'll see. So I'll point to it. War Games. I love War Games. I'm obsessed with it, and I wanted Gallagher because that's what Marty plays in War Games. There are 4 models that you need to create or analyze Delphi code. You have to switch the model for the perfect job. Yeah, Frank, by the way, uses AI a lot, and I'm actually going to Frank. I thought you were on holiday in Italy, my friend. I didn't think you were here, but Frank is very up on AI. And lots of interesting things he does. I think Frank uses, by the way, Frank, although he's an MVP, he's primarily a coder for his business. And he has Padawan, he calls him, but he has an assistant, a Cuban, that helps him as well. But they both use AI. And Frank is very much says that basically the AI is an essential tool for his business now. That's someone who's using it for real to create applications, and he's a good friend of mine. You know, him and I have talked about, and actually, there's several MVPs that use it very heavily. They won't mind me mentioning them, but Holger Flick, he uses AI a lot, and so does Olaf Moynihan as well. But he's not the only one. There's a bunch of them that use it. But if you recognise those names, they're quite well known in the industry. All of them use AI like crazy. Good. Floor models, yes. Frank, you and I are going to have a meeting about this at some point, and then we'll probably do a webinar on it. Does this? Frank's just messaged me directly. Says I'm back in my office. Well, there you go, Frank. We won't do it this session, but you and I will have to do a session where we talk about your insane use of AI. I think we could. Does this LLM, can it use the internet to search for additional information? Actually, I'm not sure whether they can or not. I'm going to guess that PAS LLM doesn't, but they're open source, and so there's no reason why your code couldn't do that if necessary. Tool use is something that I don't understand if they do that or not. You need to read their website. How good is the performance of the Mac M5 running Delphi under Parallels? Absolutely brilliant. It's a slightly separate question there, but I use it and it's as fast, if not faster, than this Windows PC I have. The Mac M5 Pro chip is the one I've got, but I used to have a MacBook Air M4 before, and the MacBook Air was pretty nippy as well, but the Mac M5 Pro beats anything. It's absolutely horrendously powerful. I'm using Delphi 13, as you might imagine, 13.1 under Parallels, and it's I mean, it's more than usable. I wouldn't notice any difference. Great piece of kit. I love Apple gear. I'm not an Apple fanboy, but I do like their stuff. Well, Frank will do it on his blog. Well, even better, my friend. Frank's blog is always a mine of information. Javier says hello from Mexico, and Sylvian, who is another guy who's regular, I know well, says I'm using Claude Code with my LM Studio locally and has all what I needed, bash, access to file, and so on. Yes, that's the thing about Olama and LM Studio. You can just type in Olama space Claude space and then something else. I think the model, I forget what it is. And Claude Code will open, but use Olama. And you do what you want with it. But the same with LM Studio. There's not a lot of difference between LM Studio and Claude Code. Not a lot of difference between Olama and LM Studio. One thing I will say, if Jim McKeith, who used to do the job before me, that I'm doing now, he said that Olama.cpp is quicker than all of them. He reckons that's fast. I haven't tried that, but I'm told it is quite fast. But Olama and LM Studio are both very capable. I like LM Studio, extremely powerful, and that can use tools for sure and do all the things, as you say, with Bash. And by the way, I can sit here on my Windows machine and have access to my Olama machine on my Mac. And now it is only there, but it's wirelessly connected. I haven't got them linked in some weird way, and I can use Smart Code Insight on my Windows PC using Olama on that machine. No token use. I haven't ever cost myself money with Claude with tokens yet, but I have run out of context before now with Claude. In other words, you get a certain amount of tokens you can use, and I've blown that budget. But I'm not doing AI coding every day with Claude, and therefore I don't have the Max account, for example. But I know people that blow their Max account. There's one guy I talked to, he blows his Max account like within days. Can you tell us Oracle DB? Really, I think the answer is no, but I would need you would need to read the documentation. They have quite good documentation on that. Um, Benjamin Rousseau, who actually is Benjamin. Hi there. Benjamin is the developer of PAS LLM. Um, There you go. I told you he'd have the answer. Now, Benjamin, well done, my friend. I know you can't hear me clapping, but your project's really good. As he says, per the UI examples, you can search the web with tool calls with models which are aware of these tool calls per Ginger template. So, as I said, the model I downloaded, it wasn't really tool focused. Oh, someone was joking. Colin was saying he was joking. So there's the answer. Benjamin knows the answer. Benjamin, good work, by the way. Paz LLM, I like it. Um, Absolutely pure Pascal, no dependencies, no nothing. Doesn't even use a GPU. Um, my advice would be that you're going to get a lot of interest. Maybe you want to start looking at acceleration, if you can work that one out. Um, but anybody that's watching, if you want to contribute towards these projects, I'm sure they'd be more than welcome. Um, but as you can see there, Benjamin says, "Hey, you can search the web, you can do tool calls, so you can get it to do other things outside of its little narrow environment." I just said simple examples for comparison with searching and stuff like that. Colin is now backpedaling, so I was kidding when I said Reme is a new AI kid. Yeah, actually, Reme is not a big fan of AI at all. Remy LeBeau, if you know who he is, he works on the indie project. Um, Much of this info was leaked on it. Oh, okay, I didn't know about this. So Google have got some project called Reme. Yeah. What else we got? If I could wrap my head around accessing customers' data at their locations. Okay, looks like Judge Dredd, you probably need to talk to Benjamin there because he's saying you can do it. Both of these sites have examples. I only showed one very simple example of both for comparison, but both of them have very comprehensive examples. Um, the Vindex one has got like a test suite to test various things, but the PAS LLM has got a load of example applications. I didn't show any of those. MK was great. MK. I used to live in Milton Keynes. Not sure if he's talking about Bruno Guillaume. I think that's it. So I think I've answered the question. Models are huge. Yeah, they are, but it just depends. I mean, um, if you're going to pick up on a model, you need to pick up on. Oh, hi. My dog's just come around the corner with a dog chew. Um, the best idea is to Google the models and see what they're capable of because these models are completely independent of Delphi and, in fact, any programming language. So go on to Hugging Face, look them up, and then Google them as well because there are some that are um, very small but very narrow in what they could do. So they might understand English and give you English answers about something. Excuse me. Whereas others have maximal comprehension of everything. They're ginormous, but they are very powerful. So, it's like anything. It's like saying, well, what kind of time should I spend on graphics? Well, how good do you want them to look? I mean, if you want a very high coloured, 4K resolution graphic, it's going to use a lot more space than something that's 1920 by 1080p, for example. So, yeah. Anthony Danby, hello, Anthony. MVP from the UK. Hi, I missed to start this one. I'll be watching it on the replay, signing up for the one on the QR code. Good job. You can remain an MVP. Just kidding. I'm not kidding. You can stay an MVP. I just mean I'm kidding that there would be ever a problem. But yes, it's good luck. And Nick Worth is mentioned using BNF. Yes, extended backhouse null form. Yeah, I'm quite pleased at my memory that I can remember BNF because that's the way that you document programming languages. And I remember I used to weirdly at one point I used to work for a chip manufacturer. There are satellites up in the sky, and they are probably heading out to asteroids and planets unknown. I have touched the microchips of those because I used to um, work in a place that was a specialist provider of both military and space microchips suitable for satellites going into clean rooms and things like that. And I used to have to be vetted by the government and things like that. It's a long story, but they had transputers, and they were from a company called Inmos, and they were single purpose transputers. They had a very weird language called Occam, named after William of Ockham, who invented Occam's razor, which is take away everything that is not fact, whatever is left, however unpleasant, is the truth. Is what Occam's razor is. But that's where BNF was drilled into my head because the guide was like that thick, very small language, but all expressed in BNF, and you had to learn that in order to understand it. So there you go. I don't have eBNF set, but my Delphi formatter is ready. Oh, good job. Well done, Frank. Yeah, Frank has got a Delphi formatter. You should go to Frank's site. It's delphi-profi.de, profi.de. You can get this size model to follow simple tool calling. Yes, yes. I mean, as I said, I basically showed you the basics. I'm not, it's a webinar. We could spend 5 hours creating the ultimate answer, but most people give up. The future is orchestration, not pure coding. Yes, exactly. It's about telling everything, all the AIs, okay, team, let's have a meeting. It's kind of what orchestration is. I want you to all to do this, and you're tool manager, you do this, and you over there, you're the designer, do this. By the way, you're the QA person. Go and test these stuff, make sure that it's done. Oh, you're the legal compliance AI. Go off and make sure that we haven't broken any rules about open source. Oh, you over there, you're the security AI. Your job is to ensure that there are no security holes and that we are not vulnerable in storing passwords in plain text, etc. So yeah, orchestration is going to be the future. My brother is worried that AI would take my job now. I realized my expertise is even more valuable. So, yes, I wouldn't say I'm thinking AI. I would be. I think you probably need to be a little bit less blasé about it because it is getting very good. I think that many companies have laid off a lot of developers. Um, People like Facebook, for example, have done this, and Salesforce and all the rest of it. I think Oracle laid off a bunch of people as well, but most of these layoffs are not. They say it's due to AI, but it's not. AI is being used to supplement some roles and replace some roles. So some of the grunt work is done by AI, and lots of testing and stuff like that. Testing is a very good thing to use AI for because it can do a bunch of stuff that it would take a human, even with the right tools, a long time to do. But a lot of the layoffs are really cashing in on stock values and stuff like that. So it's what it is. Marco G, I think he means Marco G. Take on the prompting was one, give it scope, yes, and give it boundaries limits. Yeah, tell it what it can't do. That's actually the other thing. It's like a kid. Yes, you can help with the washing up. No, you can't wash up the knives and forks. Why not? Because you'll cut your fingers off and you're only 6. It's like, I mean, and also you would have to trust the AI and learn how far you can trust it. You would not let your child go and do your banking for you unless you were very reckless. So why would you tell the AI to do that unless you knew the AI was faultlessly adept at it? I don't think you would. So there are some things where humanity is going to go, is it wise to let the AI do this? You know, I'm currently working on the tooling solution for Vindex LLM. Oh, that's Tiny Big Games. Hey, Jared. Uh, I'm glad I did offer if, by the way, if he would like to go on camera, and he said he's too shy. Which is funny, but yeah, I totally get it, and I absolutely. By the way, I'm never bothered by that. I totally get what you're talking about. I have a picture coming that's going to go above my Mortal Kombat machine that says I have to say weird stuff or I'll die, but it's true. It's how I am. Currently working on a tooling solution for Vindex LLM. Wow. I have a function gemma wired up and it does work, but more work is needed as I'm not releasing it. Great. Good job. Good job, Jared. Keep up the good work, my friend. You are very prolific. I know you use AI quite heavily in what you do. Your games are excellent as well. Tiny Big Games, very good. And you're a good bloke. You and I have spoken, I think it was a year and a half ago, something like that, face to face, but is what it is. If you know programming, the technologies of today and yesterday, and understand it, then you can really hammer stuff out now. Yes, I think that's probably true. There you go, dog. My dog wants a dog chew. Yeah, I think so. I think AI is the future. I find that people will just assume that AI is right without knowing the underlying code or tech is using, make a lot more mistakes then. Mm, I don't know. You'd have to ask someone like Frank who uses it, you know, relentlessly. I know of a couple of guys who it's all they do, AI stuff, uh, and they're in business, and so they use it. They're not doing it for the fun of it. They're doing it to actually get somewhere. And Holger, I know, has relentlessly told me how efficient it makes him, and is very all in on AI. But so is Frank Lauter, who mentioned it earlier on. And Thorsten is another developer. He works for Nexus DB, and he uses AI a lot as well. I watched a recent video where the presenter used the analogy of the architect and the builder as the way to prompt AI. Vibe coding is not the answer. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to weigh in on that. I have no idea. The huge wow factor will be an AI demo that shows work against your own data still. Yes, actually, Judge Dredd, I do intend to do that in the future. I'm not going to keep doing AI related webinars, but we are going to continue the series in June and calling, I think the series they're going to call it "You Asked for It," which sounds a bit threatening. But I said, someone said, "Oh, you sound like Ray Winstone," and I said, and they were talking about what should we call the webinars, and I said, "You asked for it," a bit like Ray Winstone, if you know who he is, and. Yeah, I think what I'd like to do is first of all code something with AI and then have it do meaningful stuff with AI tools built into it so that we use AI to create the app and improve it, but also then use AI in the app for the end user to do something meaningful that way as well. And then we've kind of, completed the circle then, haven't we? I will do that. I mean, you see me, literally create, an AI chatbot kind of affair that's similar to Olama and LM Studio in Delphi, just hit run and off it goes. So it's interesting. Jared's just saying I use SQLite as the vector database, Turbo Quat for the KV cache compression, all in there. Great. I have no idea what that means, but good. Okay, great. Flowcharts and AI to me means dot and graphics. Yes, yeah, and graphics is definitely one. And the old PC comment. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Do you know? By the way, I'm not taking the Mickey. I'm not criticizing you. My machine next to me here, this machine I'm broadcasting is 5 years old. And it cost me an absolute fortune. I think it was $1,000, which was a lot at the time. You could buy PCs like half that price in America. And that was actually cut price. I got it cut price because my wife at the time, divorced now, but my wife at the time got a staff discount from the store where we bought it. And the best thing I did was, first of all, they're like, "Oh, do you really want this? You'd be much better getting, this or that." The reason I liked it was the graphics card. is a NVIDIA something or other, some powerful NVIDIA card. It's all, you can't see it, but it's all lit up with LEDs and all sorts of crazy stuff. And and it does the AI video. So the contrast balance, the color balance, and everything is all AI. I mean, I'm real. I think I'm real. I'm as real as anybody else is. But that's all color balance. But the audio, which is even more important, which I'm pointing to here, you can't see it. That is all noise cancelled and room echo cancelled for AI, and it does it in real time. That's the video card that does that. NVIDIA Broadcast is the piece of software I use to do that, and it's great. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I wasn't criticizing you. I apologize if it came across like that, but you're absolutely right. You don't need a $5,000 video card. No, exactly. I was right. I'm not going to get through all these questions because there's just so much of them. I'm old enough to share that my first experience with Pascal was on an Apple II, when back in that time they were called microcomputers. Yes, Pascal is a great language to come very far from then. Yes, I absolutely agree. I nearly ended up working for Apple, and I actually turned them down. They offered me the job, and I said no. And it was Apple in the UK, and it was actually working in their applications division, writing accounts, Apple accounts, I think. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But this was at the time where Steve Jobs had left, and Apple were not doing well, and it was they were this close to bankruptcy. And in fact, I'm listening to an audio book at the moment about it. And I went for an interview there, and it was to convert their Pascal software, which is what they wrote all of the Apple II software in, to C, because I was a C programmer. And they asked me to do some tests, and then I had like 6 different people talk to me, I think. And the guy interviewing me was wearing ripped up jeans. I remember that, and they offered me the job, and by phone, I think. And I got another job offer, and it was for more money and what I thought was a more stable company, and I turned them down. And they upped their offer, and the guy on the phone, who was from Apple, was saying, "You really should come and work for us." And I'm like, a bit worried you're going to go bust. And but I, even then, having had Apple on your CV would have been life changing in terms of future jobs, and that was thanks to Pascal, because I could program in Pascal and I could program in C. In fact, I can program in like 12 different programming languages, but that was that was interesting experience. But luckily for me, I went to the other company and worked for them, and that division of Apple was closed down probably 3 months later. So it was luckily not a clever decision, but it was a lucky decision to make, because I would have lost my job. But I would have been able to say I was a former Apple employee, so I think that would have been a good thing. But it is what it is, it's how the future turned out. I see AI is a great ally, not a replacer. Yes, I think so. I mean, some people will lose their jobs, but some people lost their jobs when people got better at driving electric trucks and stuff like that. It is what it is. I wash high priced forced to release cash flow to yeah, okay. Etc. etc. Just says, sorry for beating a dead horse. Dude, you're okay. It's fine, all right. Honestly, pretty laid back about life. I don't care. I always tell my boss when we were talking about something, I said, I have absolutely zero respect for authority. I mean, I care about the cops and people like that, but when it comes to business, I just don't care. I mean, I'm not going to do something ridiculous, but I just do what I think is right, and that includes, talking about computing, and it works out. I think it works out. The reason these webinars are popular is because I'm a developer. I'm not a fake. And when we're talking about AI, we're talking about it together. And I'm not trying to lecture you. I'm trying to show you stuff. And and give you a benefit of what I found out and translate it into some interesting things. And I filtered out some of the less interesting things. Some of the stuff where I'm like, "Oh, that's not a very good project," because some of them don't work out, you know. But it is what it is. Maxi Donkey's gone. Thank you, Maxi Donkey. I'm sure you'll see the end on the replay. Very interesting, despite artificial intelligence. Not my cup of tea. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, even if you never want to use AI, and there are plenty of people that don't, there's at least two prominent MVPs who've said over their dead bodies or they use AI. But I respect that position. Um, it's like anything, I'm not a vegetarian myself, but I find out about what happens when you are a vegetarian and how you don't fade away. I mean, speaking as a fairly tubby guy, food is an important subject for me. But for I think it's interesting to understand, someone else's point of view, and as someone who is an omnivore and eats pretty much anything. Um, Understanding the point of view of a vegetarian is important, and it's the same with things like AI. How can you possibly say it's not for you or you criticize it if you've never actually looked into it? And I think that's a very important thing. I mean, I I know Python. I can code in Python, and not very well, but I can code in Python. Now, I cannot think of a situation where I would choose to use Python over Delphi because it can do everything. But there are probably some situations out, but I can make that decision based on understanding what Python does, having written code in Python, and it making sense and being credible. Don't know why my camera's gone a bit blurry. Hi, camera. Hey, there you go. My dog wants more dog chews. Oh, you've eaten them all, dude. They're all gone. That's it. Anyway, I think I'm just kind of like rabbiting now, so I think I'm going to call it a day. The general model on my computer I just downloaded and tried in Pass LLM CLI. Good job. You tried that demo as well. Told me that the first English king is Arthur. Well, I disagree. I don't think he was the first king. King Arthur has got it wrong. It's his name. Hello from Italy. I just ended a live stream on Twitch implementing a Ralph loop with Delphi. I don't know what a Ralph loop is. Oh, I know you, company. Yes, I followed you on Twitch before. My voice is going too much. We have some storms outside, and so my air conditioning is going crazy because it's so humid. And when it does that, it just wrecks your throat. My poor dog as well. It makes his eyes dry out, and then he can't see things, can you? But anyway, okay. Well, look. Thank you very much for sticking out to the end. Those that did, there's still 100 and something of you sticking around. I really appreciate it, and just to emphasise, and I always try and say this to people, what I show here is always about standing on the shoulders of giants. Okay, and the people that go and work on these open source projects, like Jared and the Paz LLM project and Pascal GPT as well. I've got nothing but respect for them because this is a hard place to be in terms of developing. Many people work on software development and on open source stuff and get absolutely no love from it. If you give them a star on their repo, it's like giving them a thumbs up, and it won't do much to you. But if you go to github.com and go to their projects, give them a star. If you want to know more about what we're thinking about to do workflows, then come and scan that code, or Doc, wait a minute, go to the webinar next Thursday. So Thursday, not Tuesday, Thursday at I think it's 10 a.m. And let me just pull it up because I actually got, here we are. Yes, Thursday, 2 hours earlier. to that webinar, register for it, and find out what we've got to talk about. We've got some cool stuff. I can't talk about it today because it's all under preparation, but it's all very interesting. Nemo, what's the matter? I know we're finished with the webinar. My dog has had enough. He says it's time to go. Okay, thanks everyone, and I'll speak to you next time when my voice recovers. But until then.